let's start this here. What's up? This is Netflix and Kill podcast. I'm Harley. You can catch me on Letterboxd.
I'm Isaac. This is the only thing I'm in. I got a YouTube channel though.
I'm Dustin. You can also catch me on my other podcast, Heavy Metal History, and that's pretty much all I got going.
All right, great. Now, before we get into this viscerally amazing film or visceral crazy film here, the last episode we did, which was on mute, I kind of fucked up and I didn't dedicate it to David Bowie. So that episode's dedicated to David Bowie, and I also, because I didn't know, apparently your favorite musician is David Bowie, Dustin?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking, well,
Same.
If we can just tell our kind of first experience, I guess coming across David Bowie at all, if it was like from a film or watching his music video on the TV or something like that, or.
I remember listening to Cat People at a very young age. I think one of my family members exposed it to me, but I just remember being really impacted by that. And and then when I moved away from music when I was a kid, like when my parents got divorced and stuff, and I didn't really have any like parenting to where they could expose me to culture. But when I like came back to it, when I actually like had a way to experience it, I just remember returning to David Bowie and stuff, and it's just great. And Space Oddity and Cat People, and also his album in 2003 called Reality. I have that. I think I think everything he's ever done is absolutely amazing.
So I found out about Bowie by like a kind of half-ass way, because when I was really, really, really young, Nirvana did their Unplugged, and they did that acoustic version of Man Who Sold the World, and I had no idea who it was, but I knew I really liked that song, and later found out it was by David Bowie, and never really looked back after that. Pretty much all through like middle school and high school, I was listening to Bowie. And speaking of Cat People, that's by far one of my favorite songs. The way Quentin Tarantino used that song in Inglourious Basterds is probably one of the best cues of music with a scene. Even though it does not fit in terms of like time period, it still works so beautifully. It was synchronized
so well.
Yeah. So I have a huge appreciation for that song, and it was just weird and sad how he went out, man, and what a way to go out with that piece of work, and that is Black Star, you know. So yeah, I've had a long history of Bowie. As long as I've been alive, you know, I pretty much always have heard Bowie songs and just really kept him at heart.
All right, and for me, it was actually the same thing with the Nirvana, that kind of introduction. But yeah, I guess it was that. But I will say what really got me into him was that Wes Anderson film, The Life Aquatic.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was another one that helped it out too.
Yeah, there was a cover, The Life on Mars, and so then from there I was just like, oh shit, I need to listen to more David Bowie, because I was huge into like, you know, Jimi Hendrix, Pink Floyd, all that type of stuff, but David Bowie was just like, again, just like the Nirvana thing, but that was when I actually went into it deep.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say deep dive, but again, a few albums, Honky Dory and Ziggy Stardust. But in any case, that was that. I just wanted to get that out of the way. I thought that was very important. And so this film here, this film that we're going to talk about was, I want to give it an introduction. So this was released in 1987. So I want to point out other films or other things that came out in 1987, culturally important films, or how do I say it? Culturally important things. The Simpsons first appeared in 1987. One of Dustin's favorite films, RoboCop.
Oh, yes.
Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cops 2.
A classic.
The Leonard Nimoy directed film Three Men and a Baby. Michael Jackson's Bad Album, and Prozac. So besides this stuff, there was also this New York sleazy indie film called Street Trash that that Dustin decided to pick for this discussion.
It's not quite a trauma film, but man, it's in the same vein. That's for sure. The way it's shot, the places it's shot, the low budget but gruesome effects. It might as well have been a trauma movie.
Yeah, so I wanna let's get to the synopsis here. Let's go ahead and read this here, just from letterboxd. A group of hobos begin melting into multicolored piles of goo after drinking 60-year-old liquor. At the same time, the psychotic Vietnam War vet who rules the hobo camp snaps and begins killing at random. Two brothers set out to stop the liquor and the killer. So let's get into this here.
Did we watch the same movie?
Yeah, that's a much more streamlined version of events, but I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's before we get into like the spoilers and stuff here, or quotes and stuff, let's get to the cast and crew here. Cast wise, I'm just gonna run down the top bill cast because I don't think any of us have seen any of these actors or actresses, what have you. So Mike Lackey as Fred, Bill Cheppel as Bill the Cop, Vic Noto as Bronson, Mark Safaraza as Kevin, and Jane Arakawa as Wendy. That's the top bill cast. And I guess we can go into acting. Again, this is a low budget film, so I didn't have high expectations, and the acting didn't really kind of ruin the suspension of disbelief, just because it was actually kind of made it more hilarious. Like, it made the experience more funny for me. But I don't know, and did it differ for any of you, or what was?
I thought the acting was very disproportionate, in the sense that there was some really good acting in some parts and then some really bad acting in other parts.
Yeah, it was it depended on like the performer and like what part they had, because I think probably like the best quote unquote actor was probably the cop, because he used to be a cop in real life, so he committed like 100% to being like that badass like street cop. But I mean, even the main hobo, Fred, like that guy just seemed like a happy-go-lucky like hobo just trying to get his booze on. Like, he did a pretty decent job of acting. The Vietnam flashback dude, he was definitely crazy. That's for sure. He pulled off crazy really well. Everybody else was kind of rough, to say the least.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Definitely, I concur with the cop being the standout. What was the standout for you, Isaac?
Fred. I called him Hobo Jesus while I was watching the film. Because he was like one of the only characters I liked. I don't want to get into spoilers about stuff, so I'll hold like the other comments I have about other characters when we actually get into spoiler discussion. But yeah, Fred was awesome.
I like Fred too a lot. Like, I don't know, it's just something about his disposition. Like, yeah, he was kind of a shithead a little bit in terms of like some things he did, but he just seemed like a happy-go-lucky hobo that just really, really wanted to get drunk.
For sure.
And to get his socks off.
All right, and let's get into the crew here, because this was what was fascinating to me. I have a list of things to point out here, but first off is the director of this, James M. Murrow, or he also goes by, or he went by Jim Murrow for this film, but his other credits and things, he goes by James M. Murrow, and he has a list of things that he's has done camera work for. I mean, Maniac Cop, Slime City, another New York quote unquote melt film. Kevin Costner's Dances with Wolves, James Cameron's The Abyss, Predator 2, Terminator 2, Point Break, the Academy Award snubbed film The Beverly Hillbillies, JFK, Casino. Just so many fucking things he's done camera work for. He was the DP of that 2004 film Crash, which won an Academy Award. things like that. So, I mean, thoughts on Merle the man here?
Yeah, I mean, he seemed to definitely like use this to catapult his career into like a different direction. You know, maybe he kind of figured out after making this movie that maybe directing wasn't exactly what he wanted to do or was going to be for him, and he just kind of wanted to, you know, be a camera operator, which is basically a director anyways, if you're pointing and shooting the camera in specific spots. So maybe that's just what he preferred to do after making this movie. There are some good shots in this film too. That is also another thing I should point out. Like, you know, it may be kind of low budget and kind of like cheesy, but it's actually filmed pretty well in some spots.
The chase scene, the chase scene was professionally done, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, what was your thoughts here, Isaac? I mean, did you like the overall directing of this, or?
Not really. No, from a story perspective, no, because I made that comment about, you know, when you read the synopsis, like, did we even watch the same film? I mean, they put a lot of content into like one movie, and they did things really. I mean, this is more about story than it is about cinematography. But it seemed like they were really over ambitious, and that's a feeling I get when I watch a lot of these low budget films. Like they want to make a good movie by cramming it in with a bunch of stuff, I feel. And it just doesn't work.
Yeah, for sure.
There's like 10 subplots.
Budget.
Well, there are a lot of subplots. Yeah, it's pretty subplot heavy. You got the one about having to pay back the other hobo's $3. You have the love triangle between his brother and the Asian lady, and the subplot with the cop, and then the crazy Vietnam hobo, and then you have the main story where dude is just trying to get some liquor and get drunk, and that's it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. I mean, again, yeah, I mean, objectively speaking, sure. Like, again, it's probably, you know, it's not an alien or whatever, but I mean, I think with its budget, which I guess trivia, it was shot in 13 weeks. The estimated budget was apparently $500,000. So, I mean, I think
pretty good for 1987.
Yeah, first feature film and stuff. Like, again, it's just for me, if I was put in their shoes in that time period, it's just one of the things I've kind of been more empathetic about in terms of these people who create art and stuff like that. It's like, definitely, it's, you know, it's like I said, it's not an alien, it's not something, you know, grandiose, and it's definitely too big for its budget, but, you know, gotta give credit with, you know, where credit's due, and so definitely some great shots. But in any case, let me get into the writing here, because that's definitely something that I was definitely not. That was definitely a negative aspect. I would definitely agree with this on Isaac here, which was written by, or the writing credits were Jim Merle and Roy Frumkes. So yeah, just Dustin, your thoughts on the writing?
Well, there's definitely some really, really funny dialogue. A lot of it is almost non sequitur feeling, though, in terms of like it all sounds like it's coming from the same character almost.
Yeah.
You know, like we talked about the story, there's like so many fucking subplots. It's kind of ridiculous. So that could probably be streamlined a little more. Definitely the most believable character, like we said, is the cop. So there's some like good writing, and then there's some like bad writing. I don't know how much of it was on purpose, like if that's what they were set out to do to make it purposefully bad, or if it was just kind of one of those happy accidents to where it just ended up being a bad overall movie, and then that's how it ended up.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I love the dialogue, but like you mentioned, between the the owner and Fred there. But yeah, there's definitely definitely some subplots. I mean, and did you want to go more into it, Isaac, with the writing, or did you pretty much said what you needed to say?
There was one good twist that I was surprised at the beginning, and maybe it's because I'm a bad watcher, or that it was actually written in to be surprising. But that would be spoiling it. Can I do that?
Let's hold off.
Okay. Well, there is one good twist in the movie. For me at least, and then the movie ended I thought the ending to this movie was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
It made that near 2 hours worth it, really. And actually, that subplot with those characters, I liked Fred more, but I liked that plot the best because I think that had some of the best comedy at the very end.
Yeah, it did kind of pay off what you were hoping to get out of it by that time. It is a little bit of a slow burn, I will say that too. It took a minute for like the first kind of gruesome death to happen, and then after that, it seemed like it was no holds bar.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, again, I was laughing like throughout the whole film, so it's like, again, but in any case, okay, so that's that. I definitely want to get into the special effects.
Yes.
Again, this is a very important part. So two of the main people apparently was a female named Jennifer Aspinall, I think, who also did work on The Toxic Avenger, and a male called Mike Lackey, who did work on I Was a Teenage Zombie, which is on Filmstruck. That's extremely. I would definitely not recommend that. But, yeah. So thoughts on the FX here?
They were good.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of, when I initially saw the movie, I was getting a little bored. I thought it was funny, and I was like, okay, where's this going? And then when the first death scene happens with them drinking the liquor, I was like, okay, now I know where this is going. This is where it really started to feel like a trauma movie for me, because of all like the gross blood and guts and bile and flesh just like oozing once they kind of melt from the liquor. Even the colors that they got from some of the goo or whatever you want to call it when the bodies are melting were just really vivid, and lots of purples and greens. Good use of color there. And I think the only thing that was kind of like super cheesy and really fake was the dick scene. It was very, very clearly like either like a dildo or something. It was just so fucking fake looking, but in a funny way.
I hated
like
that scene.
Yeah, that scene was kind of weird to me. I was like, what the fuck's the point of this? Like that was like a weird, that and the rape scene were really off kilter for the rest of the movie.
I got disturbed at that scene. I mean, I was like, I was laughing nervously. I was like, I guess that's kind of funny, but it reminded me of like Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
Yeah.
Like that scene, hi ho, it's off to work we go, but they're raping a lady.
Yeah, you're not the only one though, because I was actually reading about that scene, and apparently the woman had been attacked before, and so like she got like super bad PTSD during that scene and like freaked the fuck out, and they had a hard time shooting that scene, and I can see why. It was pretty graphic, pretty violent. They were all grabbing at her really hard, and to be such like a low level movie like this, it's got to be hard to like put in that situation just for a crappy movie. So that's probably like my only negative complaint about the movie is that scene and section.
I really did not appreciate that scene. I mean, I guess it was funny to some people maybe, and I guess I could see the humor in it, but it was really visceral. It was, I mean, they made them look like zombies, you know?
Yeah, they did. That was weird.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. And then they dragged her away, and it was kind of like, I don't know what to think about it. It was, I had this really like dehumanizing feeling about all of it. I was like, you just made something so light, because it wasn't even a part of the main plot, or kind of. But
no, yeah, that
really.
That was the other subplot that was going on between that mob boss and his girlfriend in the restaurant. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we get to see the steward.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a good character as well. But I really didn't like that scene.
All right. Well, I mean, we can get into it later. Again, You have to remember this is in the 80s. I mean, this is 80s humor. Again, definitely now it's definitely not like it's PC, but like there's like Porky's and all this like misogynist humor that was popular back in the day. So in a historical context, like I was kind of like, oh, okay, it's of its time. I know that sounds crazy, but 80s was a pretty fucking crazy. I mean, just from watching films, it seemed pretty crazy, and I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. It was just like they weren't. I mean, what they were doing was just as fucked up as mainstream comedies or things that were looked. I don't know. So
Yeah.
that was my take on it. But definitely, it was definitely unsettling. Like when I was watching, but we'll get into it more. But
Yeah.
yeah. So FX, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jennifer and Mike there. They did a wonderful, fantastic job.
I mean,
I was watching other melt films. I was trying to see if I could find something that was like similar to this, and like I just felt like this just stood out the most from the few quote unquote melt horrors that I watched. So
yeah, it's definitely got some really, really solid, like, genuine effects in there that look, like, yeah, it's a little cheesy. You can kind of see like some of the dummies and things like that, but it's so like visceral in the way it's executed that it's like you don't really pay attention to that stuff. You're just watching everything combust and explode around it. And even the ending kill, man, that was a good payoff with that ending kill. Just seeing his head just completely explode like that was great. Not quite Scanner's good, but definitely one of the better head explosions.
for sure. All right, cool. All right, let's get into the cast or the aspects of this. I put down just for the main aspects, definitely comedy horror, body horror, psychopath, revenge, madness, splatter. Was there anything else, or do you feel like those? I mean, what were the main aspects to you when you watched this?
Political, in a way.
Yeah, I can
Sure,
I can
sure.
see that too. Yeah. Especially
Like
with like
satire.
all the Vietnam like flashbacks and even just like the stuff with the homeless people. Like there's their weird like little hierarchy that they had with who was in charge and who did what in their little hobo camp.
And the sexual stuff as well was also deeply, it was sending a I hope they were sending a message.
That's the thing about some of these films is they're a lot more subversive than people really kind of realize. I mean, some of it's probably on purpose, others probably on accident, but it's still there. It's very apparent.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely political. There's definitely some social satire going. I mean, what else was that anything or?
Yeah, the scene with the car washes when they would violently like, I'm gonna wash your car,
Yeah.
that made me chuckle. And also that was I think that was our first kill scene.
Yeah, because it was when he snapped. He had like the flashback and he broke and he killed the dude in the car.
That dude was such a dipshit.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny scene too, because just seeing the bums like swarm all the cars and the people are freaking out like, just don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact.
Don't
What
look
was
at
funny
me and
was-
smell fear.
The guy was like trying to like make like be friendly with the guy and was like saying, I forgot what he was saying. I don't know if he
I
said
shot one of those M60s,
Yeah.
that was pretty good fun, you know what I'm saying? Oh, don't hurt me.
Okay, so all right, yes. So that's the aspect. If you're looking for comedy, body horror, splatter, definitely, and it's set in New York. I mean, 80s New York, so definitely be your cup of tea here. So let's get into spoilers.
The movie starts off because the main bum, Fred, owes this other bum like $3, and he's running all around the city, and he ends up losing it in the back of a garbage truck, I think is where he ended up tossing it or losing it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was also trying to use that to buy liquor with some of the money or all of it. I forget which exactly. And during this time, it's showing the liquor store owner deep in his basement. The liquor store looks like it's never been used. That's the other thing. So he's way down in the basement, like going through all this shit, and he finds a hole in the wall, and he just pulls out this case of liquor, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can sell that, no problem." And he sells the bottles of liquor for $1 each. It's called Viper.
Sorry, I made an assumption about that guy. I thought that, and I might be wrong about this, but like he knew the interesting qualities of Viper, and that he was selling it to homeless people for $1 because he hates homeless people.
He does hate homeless people, and I'm kind of wondering if it was the same thing. Like he knew, but I don't think he did, because every time he had an interaction with somebody, he was just kind of like, whatever.
Also, the end. I mean, I wouldn't say the end, but he drinks it himself.
Yeah, that's what I thought was a twist. Was it was interesting. Like, oh, he didn't know, and now he's dead.
Yeah, but then that could be also a take on. I mean, this is gonna be a deep dive here for myself, but I'm gonna say because there was also the Wall Street crash in 1987. So maybe he just wanted to kill. Maybe he just wanted to kill himself. Maybe because he was a business owner. But that was just a bullshit analysis. But let's talk about the case that he gets it from, because it's just so cartoonish. Like.
It was like finding Jumanji.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like hay there, and it's just like.
It was a very mysterious case, that's for sure. It's like an old crate way back in the bottom of a liquor store, and it's like, well, how long has that been there? And what's funny too is there was still some missing in there, so that means it had been unearthed previously, if you think about it that way.
For sure. Okay. I mean, was there anything?
Well, there's one. I think there's a scene before, or it's a part of the same scene, but after the chase scene, we see him. He's like laying on the floor, like the ground next to a pendulum, like a pendulum or something. No, not pendulum. I'm an idiot. Like a pillar or something like that. And then we get introduced to the black character.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna call him Black Guy. We get to see Black Guy. And
yeah, they're like friends, sort of.
Yeah, he's a supporting character, kinda. And then there's another scene in the future where we see some comedic relief from our black friend.
Yeah, he's Bert. His character's name is Bert. The character name.
Okay, Bert.
Yeah, he steals a lot of food in a sequence, which was fucking hilarious.
Oh my god, yes. I did think it was funny too, like after he's running all around the city and gets in that dump truck, he does just kind of lay right down and go to sleep wherever that spot that he was at. Doesn't even care, just goes to sleep, middle of the day. And then he's woken up by his friend, and I think they start walking away, and he's explained to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I owe this guy like $3 and I lost it, but I really just want to get drunk." And that's his whole mission. That's all he actually really cares about. Is he just wants to get drunk. That is all Fred is doing, is just trying to get drunk. Yeah, so that reminds me that Fred did get the bottle of liquor in the very beginning because he only had $1 left from the $3. And this gives us one of our first exchanges between Fred and the liquor store owner. And it's one of the, not the best one, but one of the better ones. He literally just walks in. He goes, "Fuck you. Give me a bottle of booze. Here's my $1. Suck my dick." And that's it. Like, he just gives them the booze, and then that was their interaction. And every time after that, when he comes in, he just says something like, "Don't you fucking look at me," or "Fuck you. You don't even know how my fucking day's been, man." And like on and on and on. I can't find the other
quote. Fuck your dog.
Yeah, I can't find the other quote, but it's oh man, it's a great exchange. It's probably one of my favorite ones.
Was the business owner, was he wearing like sunglasses the whole time? I can't recall.
Yeah, and that place was dark as hell. It's like there was no light. It looked like a liquor store that wasn't even functional, to be honest, man.
And the first kill scene with the Viper, killing Polly, was the most gruesome. Like him sitting down on the toilet, and he tries to reach. And does he flush himself down?
It does seem like he does.
Seems like he does. Which, if that was true, that's hilarious, by the way. And it was weird and cool. And it was the it was probably the first one was probably probably the best Viper scene, if you will.
There was that other one kind of near the end when like everything was like hitting the fan. It was like that kind of fat dude that drank it.
Oh yeah.
His whole stomach just exploded.
And Fred almost dies. Like,
yeah.
And we see him like he's like some of it got on his leg, and he's like, ah, shit. I think all the kill scenes are really funny or really gruesome. I think the liquor store owner, his kill scene was crazy.
Yeah, that was great. Let's get into that shoplifting sequence because, I mean, what was the I mean, it definitely gives us some info on Bert and how he is as a person. Again, he definitely is doing things to feed his fellow homeless friends, but he's also a complete dick to.
I mean, it was pretty funny because that dude gave no fucks. He literally just walked in there and started filling up his pants with everything that he could. He didn't even care what it was.
He contemplated on like the cantaloupe or watermelon.
I'm also really confused as to why Bert wears the gas mask.
Yeah, that cracked me up, dude, because that was like introduced during the car washing sequence, like after. That was just a funny production or costume choice.
Thought he just wore it to be intimidating at first, but no, he just wears it throughout the film, I think.
Yeah, it was like one of those weird character choices that either like he picked up on and just did it himself, or somebody in the movie thought it was a good idea, but it was never really, not that it needed to be explained, but it was just like a weird character trait of his. He was actually kind of dressed up in like almost radioactive garb, with like the yellow pants and everything.
Maybe like a foreshadow, if you will. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that shit's toxic. Yeah,
exactly. I thought it was an awesome choice, though. I mean, let's get into. I mean, what was your favorite costume design, if you will, when it comes to this?
Wynette.
Yeah.
She looks
dirty underwear.
She looks disgusting.
Yeah, I was wondering about her if she looked better in real life as opposed to that. And she looks a little bit better, but it's just like, man, they went all out making her look rough.
Yeah, and I'm like, if there is a real hobo queen, it would be her.
Her death was pretty brutal too, man.
You never share the booze. You never share the booze.
She's got like a shower cap, right? Part of her daily wear. Nice. All right. Cool.
But she was nasty.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like Fred's get up. He looked kind of like a magical bum with his little like semi sombrero looking hat. Like that was, who he reminds me of actually? He reminds me of that comedian Duncan Trussell.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Dude,
that's what I kept thinking of.
Bill Burr, or the cop looked like Bill Burr. Like that's what's cracking me up, man. I don't know
he's just all chest though.
He's so angry. I'm like, this is Bill Burr old. Like if he was a cop. Yeah, Duncan Trussell for sure. That's hilarious.
Yeah, you can tell a lot of the costumes are like really bare bones, and they just like put black grease or dirt all over everything. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about Fred's little magical hobo outfit that I enjoy very much.
All right. And then let's. I don't know. Is there another?
There's a love interest with Fred's brother, Kevin, right?
Kevin, yes.
Kevin and Wendy, and there's this little love triangle between Wendy, Kevin, and the perverted fat guy at this junkyard where they're all out. A lot of the events in this movie takes place in a junkyard, and the guy who owns I think it's a auto junkyard where scrap cars go, and the guy who owns it, he's a sleazy bastard, right? You hate him at the very first, and Wendy's this, she's like this sassy Asian chick, and Kevin's one of the people that Wendy has decided to help while she's on this job. She's taken love like a motherly role with these homeless people. So Wendy's a very good character.
I agree with that. We didn't talk about her much, But yeah, she's one of the better characters actually.
But she's got to deal with the sexual harassment from Frank, played by Pat Ryan.
Rest in peace, Pat Ryan. He died in 1991. Rest in peace.
Yeah, see, that was a guy. That's why I thought this was a trauma movie, because he was in like every trauma movie that was ever put out up until he passed away.
Yeah, he's a fat pervert. We see him in scenes just doing really disgusting things. He actually might be one of the main antagonists, and there's a subplot about him trying to get in this lady's jeans and just failing miserably every time.
Yeah, he also looks like a comedian. He looks like Robert Kelly, like a fat version of Robert Kelly, if you know who that is.
But we see that struggle going on, and we see that Fred really doesn't like Kevin's decisions, right? There's tension between Fred and Kevin. I think they're brothers, right?
Yeah, they are.
And they live in this bunker. I guess,
sweet, dude. I thought that was badass.
I was like, if I was a homeless guy, that's like MTV Cribs level of hobo-ness right there.
Well, this is the crazy thing, man. Is like that dude's whole scrapyard is just infested seemingly with all the bums of the city. They all live there. They have their own little hobo kingdom inside this fucking place.
And they all bow to the might of the hobo king.
Yeah. It's crazy.
They all legit do. It's like a feudal society.
It's a microcosm of, I don't know, yeah, something.
I see why he's pissed. Like, he's always telling her, he's like, get these fucking bums out of here. Like, because, I mean, it's bad for business, man. Who's going to want to go to this place that's just infested by all the homeless people?
So I have on here on my notes the Vietnam flashback nightmare, which I thought was phenomenal. I don't know. But that was like that was far into, like, probably in the second act. But, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they kind of got into the part where he had murdered all of his, like, he murdered somebody, right? And then he cut up their leg, and then he had the bone knife that he made out of it.
Yeah.
That was weird. And then we also see that the Hobo King, I forget people's
Bronson?
names like instantly. Bronson. What a great original name, right? Bronson. So we see that he has a weird infatuation with Wendy. Right. I think that she's manifest in one of his flashbacks, apparently, in one of his dreams. Yeah, and we see him, in the dream wanting to, go down, wanting to get jiggy, wanting to do the dirty tango, right?
I thought it was shot well, dude. I thought that flashback was shot fucking well. I'm like, oh, this is pretty sweet, dude.
It was.
I mean, you could definitely tell it wasn't like they were in Vietnam. Like, it was like some fucking dude's backyard, but I thought it was pretty cool. They had like some smoke going on and stuff.
It was all artsy fartsy. I kind of liked it.
One thing that I read about this movie, though, about the guy who played Bronson, is he was hired the day of, like the very first day that they started shooting, like the same day, because they had to fire the other guy. So he had no idea what he was doing in terms of like his character or anything. They were just like, you're a crazy Vietnam homeless person, go at it. And he was just like, okay.
Quality filmmaking right there, boys.
Yeah, I don't know if it shows in in his acting. I feel like he kind of nailed the part in terms of what he was going for. But
I liked his acting. That's surprising, actually.
Yeah, he was very menacing. That was kind of the other thing. I was like, yo, why isn't anybody doing anything about this crazy homeless psychopath that is just murdering people? And how can they not find him? They know where all the homeless people live, in the fucking junkyard, because they're all there. It was just like, how can this cop not track him down? It didn't make any fucking sense.
It's the easy street of the New York underground.
Yeah, there were so many ways they could have caught this psychopath, but no, he just kept going around killing, and you got Fred there just poisoning everybody with the Viper, but still trying to get drunk. That's the thing, is like, even after he sees the first person explode, he still wants to drink it.
Again, that could be alcoholism. Again, we haven't even gotten into like,
this movie's hard to follow.
Let's get straight into the bar that the mobster owns, where we get Fred taking the chick, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
the chick.
Yeah, the drunk lady. I don't know her name. But
It's just drunken winch in the cast on IMDb.
all right. But yeah, let's get into that sequence because that essentially allows the cop to go to have evidence or to go to the junkyard because that's what leads him to the junkyard is that dead girl. So
Yeah, this kid, he's trying so hard to be like,
A
like
hard ass.
he wants to be a hard ass and he wants to be in there, but he's also offending the main dude at every fucking turn that he gets. He's like, come on, of course the food's good.
Your food tastes like dog shit. He talks like that as well, and you can tell like it's artificial. I don't know if that was the acting or if that was intentional, but it's a stroke of genius either way. He's like, yeah, I was kidding about what I said, man. And then like when he's being about the murder of the girl, when she gets raped to death, that's crazy and really disturbing. But when they're at the police interview, right? Because he's a witness. He was the last guy who saw her before, she went home with Fred. So he just insults the piss out of the mobster, and then the punchline to that scene was, "You guys do witness protection, right?"
Yeah. Yeah, and then Bill the cop is like, nope. And then you see that look on his face, and he's like, yo, I just fucked up. This was his debut movie too. This guy, James Lorenz. This was his first movie playing the doorman character, and then he went on to do like Frankenhooker and like RoboCop 3. Unfortunately.
Oh man, there was talent there.
Yeah.
It was just soiled. Can we also talk about Fred's sexual stamina? I feel bad for the guy.
yeah, he lasted pretty short there.
It was like 3 seconds, and he's like, just get out of my abode.
He was not very good. Maybe he didn't really care about sex though. Well, no, there was a couple points where he's like, I'm gonna go try and get laid, and I was like, yo, who would sleep with all these homeless people? They must smell so bad. That was the other thing. I was like, Wendy or whatever her name was falling in love with his brother, and I was like, yo, this kid must smell so bad. Like, why
No,
would
he
you want to
bathes
sleep
in
with...
the river. It's fine.
Well, I know one thing we haven't really touched on is the necrophilia scene.
Oh man, we gotta talk about that.
Yeah, so let's get into, because you mentioned, Isaac, about the whole zombie thing. It was kind of, they did it in a way that it sort of looks like the homeless people, the gang of homeless people that take that the drunken wench was a bunch of zombies. So the interesting thing was, one of the writers, Roy Frumkes, directed The Document of the Dead, which is a documentary on George A. Romero. Rest in peace.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, and that's also on Shudder, so check that out. So again, that might have been put into play. Maybe that was just like a homage to Romero, if you will. So I think that might be the reason why it was kind of shot that way. But who knows? Maybe there's some type of social commentary in that, because I feel like a lot of these groups were all misogynist. The cops, the businessmen, and then the homeless people. Just like everyone seemed pretty misogynistic. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can get into the rape or the necrophiliac rape scene. I don't know, whatever you guys prefer.
It's the rape scene was like, that was bad. That was not a bad scene out of just like cinema wise. I mean, it was a good scene. If we're looking at things objectively, it was disturbing. I think it was supposed to be disturbing. And then, we see them like banging on the walls like zombies, and the couch flips over, I guess. And then we hear her scream in terror, and like you can see it in her eyes. I think she's sober now. She's 100% sober.
Yeah. That was kind of interesting to me too, because it starts out like she's having fun and she thinks she's there with like her man or somebody, somebody she knows, and then it turns out like, oh fuck, I don't know where I am. I'm in a strange place. All these strangers are touching me, and like it turns bad really quick, which is pretty true to life with how those situations go, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then they carry her away like by her legs and arms. And they all have this marching stance, and that's why I compared them to the Seven Dwarves. off Snow White. It was just like it went from this like Romero horror type thing to this like, like this marching soldier kind of sequence, and it's like, oh, what am I supposed to feel? Like,
Yeah.
am I supposed to laugh? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's fucked up. All right. And then, yeah, I mean, it's definitely skipping ahead because right after that, I think, I can't remember, but I know after that rape scene, there was like, I don't know if there was like a big boxing match between the cop and the mobster, but I think that's before the cop going even into the junkyard, right? Because he fights like one of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, because then the necrophiliac rape scene between Frank Schisner, the fat guy, and the dead body was like later on, like a bit later on into the story. So, I mean, what were your thoughts on the boxing fight and the like? Do you recall that? Like the mobster was like taking a piss, and then the Bill dude's like,
oh,
he's like, do you want to fight here? I don't know what his whole thing was, but it was
no, he was like, you put your weapon down, or do you want to die in combat?
Yeah.
He said, do you want to shoot me, or do you want to die in combat? And something dumb. And like he was convinced. He's like, yeah, this guy is I'm gonna die in combat. I like it when Fred, he's about to die, right? And then he zips that dude's zipper.
Yeah.
While he's taking a piss. Oh man. That was good.
Yeah, they did that fist fight scene was pretty funny, man.
I was cracking up.
I didn't expect it to go the way it did, that's for sure. And I was just like, of course this cop wants to fight. He's not gonna sit here and fucking pull a gun out and shoot this guy. He's gonna try and fight him. Of course, he's a man's man.
Yeah. Do you see the size of his chest, Dusty? Do you?
He was pretty much all chest.
Yeah, his chest was disproportionately large in comparison to the rest of his body.
He reminded me of a life version of that really shitty Rob Liefeld Captain America drawing that everybody makes fun of. But yeah, so the necrophilia scene was gross, but it was there for shock value. I mean, I feel like everything in this movie was purely for shock value. That's all the director and writer were kind of out for at that point. It was just to fucking show gross stuff that happens.
Yeah. The film isn't fun to watch, visually speaking. I mean, like, you don't cringe throughout the entire movie, but you're kind of in like cringe stance. It's like something gross is about to happen. Or you're gonna see something gross, like people throwing a phallus around.
Yeah, there is a scene where they play keep away with a dick. Yeah, and then doesn't it gets thrown into the back of the cab, and then the cab drives off? Is that right?
No, it's he gets the dick
in the puddle,
right? And then. Yeah, no, he gets his... Okay, well, basically, this guy was pissing while the Hobo King is trying to get his $3 back from Fred, otherwise known as Hobo Jesus. And the Hobo King, I think he gets pissed on by this guy. He's peeing through the hole, right? Yeah. And it's like, son of a bitch! And then he just grabs his dick, and he just tears it off. And then, like, it becomes this funny thing. Everybody, including the Hobo King, is laughing. And this gives Hobo Jesus time to escape, right? That's what I was used for, I guess. And then they just whirl it around. And then we get to see one scene when Wynette, the Hobo Queen, like, tries to keep the penis. Do you guys notice that?
Yeah.
She tried to hide it in her dress or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. All right. So... I mean, let's get into the necro rape scene because, I mean, you made a big deal about it, Isaac. I don't know, for me, it was like, yeah, it was extremely fucked up, but at the same time, they don't show it, They cut away, they cut away from it, and then they cut him to zipping his zipper, and again, it was just like to where, it could have been much worse, and again, this guy, this Frank Schisner, Dustin, you've watched Class of Nukem High, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he plays this fat like nuclear scientist guy that like is like letting this nuclear plant like it's like making it to where the toxic waste is getting to the surrounding or the nearby high school, and it's like I feel like he just plays these characters they're just like dark satirical versions of of certain things like this. He was obviously a businessman that's a fucking piece of shit, but I think it was kind of to make commentary on like how horrible businessmen were in the 80s, and obviously they were. So I don't know, I felt like that was kind of definitely, I don't know, it was definitely not in good taste, but at the same time it's like if you look,
there was relevance there,
Yeah,
and I'm not
definitely.
saying they shouldn't have done it. I get why it's in the film. It fits with the theme. Like I said, the rape scene was good, if you can call it that, right? I mean, but it's just
it wasn't necessary. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to the plot and to what they were trying to do, it fits. But it's like, did you have to? Just because you could do something doesn't mean you should, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose nowadays, yeah, but I guess back in 1987, if you're going for shock value, they did everything they could. They played every hand they could have dealt. And if this was a game of Cards Against Humanity, they would have won. With everything that they fucking put in there. So, yeah, I'm trying to look at it, with like 30 years removed kind of eyes, and not as much of like PC culture.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, the movie's fucked up, but it's funny and it's fun. It's got a bunch of cool effects. I don't know. I spend more time laughing at it than I did being like
offended
of course,
by it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Same. It's just those two scenes, I like I said before, I'm not, super like that's terrible, but it's like,
yeah, you have to talk.
I
about
did
it,
laugh
totally.
though. Yeah.
But yeah, again, this is the era of Dice Clay and what's that?
Oh,
what's
yeah.
What's that comedian that would scream all the time? Who
Bobcat.
No, who used to be a pastor? The guy that died from.
Oh, Sam Kinison.
Yeah, man, that guy was.
Yeah.
That definitely wasn't PC. Him and Dice Clay.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, again, was there any sequences we missed? Because I definitely that end chase sequence was definitely fucking amazing. That oxygen tank and that was.
Oh yeah, I like how he screams, "Street trash."
Yeah, he says the thing. Yeah.
He yells out the title of the film.
I know one thing we were kind of talking about before it started, which I did think was kind of funny, was another classic Fred line. If you would like to regale us with that, Isaac. When he's talking about Bert.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. When he gives who's that guy's name?
I think it's Wizzy or Wizzle.
Wizzy. Yes, Wizzy. When he gives Wizzy the Viper, right? He does some reverse psychology, right? he wants Wizzy to die because he owes him money. So Bert's down, right? He got hit with a pipe by Wizzy. He's like, I'm gonna take your stuff, and he's like, nah, man, don't take my stuff. Do whatever you want to Bert. He's black. No one will give a shit. And me and my friend burst out laughing. That was one of the funniest parts of that film, and just how they filmed his face, like all looking concerned and stuff. He's black. No one will give a shit. And then he's like, please, Wizzy, don't take my Viper. Listen, man, I just want to get drunk. All right.
That's all he wanted.
I'm sick. I'm shitting blood. I think he says that.
Yeah. He's just trying to get his fix, man.
And then he drinks it, and then it's like, doesn't he like put his back to the wall, and then like, the wall's just like painted with his entrails and just fizz.
Yep.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about the ending. We gotta talk about how Kevin almost got some of that Wendy.
He got cock
it was all
blocked.
ruined. I know, right? It was just like Bronson was the white knight in that situation. I think he kills somebody just randomly. while he's chasing this kid down.
Yeah, he does. He just kind
Yeah.
of like goes fucking full on psychopath there. Just no holds barred. Yeah.
And then we see the chase scene in, I think, the garage and stuff like that. And then that's when he screams street trash. And
It's very hypocritical because he's street trash too.
he's the king. He is the king, literal king of street trash, right? And then we see that, Wynette tries to save him, and then she fails. She gets knocked to the ground. And then Fred, our intrepid hero, Hobo Jesus, jumps in. He jumps on this guy. He's trying to beat him down because secretly he loves Kevin. It's this great bonding moment. Just kidding. And then Bronson lifts him up. We think it's the worst is about to happen, and then we see Kevin aims this pressure tank, or whatchamacallit, at him. Oxygen tank, right? And then it shoots. He scores. The guy's head and the upper half of Bronson's torso clean off. And that is kind of the final death scene right there.
It's such a beautiful half body decapitation.
Right.
I don't know what the correct term for that would be, but it's glorious.
And then the movie just kind of ends, but the final scene is absolutely hilarious. It's we tie up the subplot, and we see our steward, the doorman, and he's tied up and he's kissing this guy's ass profusely. And then he has a bottle of Viper somehow. We don't know how he got it, but he did. And the mobster takes it from him. He's like, "You've been drinking on the job? What are you doing here?" And the guy's like, "Nah, man, it's not like that. Don't drink it." Or no, he's like, I'll kiss your feet, man. I think he says, "I'll suck your dick." I don't know. But
yeah, he's begging.
He's begging for his life. And then the mobster drinks it. We don't see him die, but we get to see the reaction. And the reaction's great. He's like, and we see, the hard ass, not really guy, the doorman. He's like, "You can't hold in your liquor," and he's like, "You guys get a mop. Let's fish out that ring." And it's just a funny scene.
Yeah, and he's all like, "I'm taking over now. I'm king of the dicks." Like, what is? Fuck. He says something like, like he's in charge now, and he's like, "Get me out of here. I'm the new Don. I'm the new Don." He completely goes back into hard ass mode. And what's funny is the two lackeys aren't even fucking contesting it. They're just kind of like, all right, why not?
I just saw my boss literally melt. So I mean, what else could go wrong?
Yeah, it's like I did that.
I tricked him with my reverse psychology schemes.
Yeah, that was a good. I do wish they showed that death. That was my only kind of thing. I wish they probably put in one more melting body kill in there. But I don't know. Overall, I feel like, my favorite thing about this movie is last night were the Oscars, super serious, only the best of the best movies. I love movies like this because they are such just the antithesis of what Hollywood stands for. Yes. This movie would never be taken serious. It's only going to be a cult film for its entire life. But I think movies like this need to get made because they're so ridiculous and so bad and cheesy that it just, not everything can be all Hollywood all the time. And it's nice to kind of get movies like this, as rare as they are.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I concur. But all right, man. Let's get into the rating here, because I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it a fucking 4 out of 5, dude. I fucking love this film. I was cracking the fuck up. Definitely, there were some things I didn't care for, wouldn't have liked to see, and there's definitely things I would have preferred them cut. But overall, dude, it was a fun experience, and it's like you said, it's I don't know, when you take things too serious, especially when it comes to art, it's just. It just kind of, I don't know, it seems super douchey,
Mm-hmm. You have to take art at kind of, not face value, but you have to accept art as it is,
Yeah, because we just did a thing on Mute, and again, that was sort of a serious film, and it's just with this is just a great, like you mentioned, the antithesis of that or contrast to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely commentary. I think there's definitely commentary on it, like homelessness and alcoholism and all that jazz. But it was done in this extremely funny way, and again, I think it's historically, I think it's important because it's definitely pointing out things of that time. But yeah, that was a 4 out of 5 for me. I don't know. One of you can go ahead and give your rating next.
I think I'm in the same boat. I give it a 4 out of 5. It's funny. Like, I think Fred's one-liners are probably some of the best one-liners, and he pulls them off so well. Like, I know this guy didn't really go on and do much after this, but you can tell he had some like really good comedic timing with like his comebacks and one-liners. I love the effects. That was like my favorite part of it too. Like, the effects are so gruesome, and just all the vomit and bile and guts and pus, and just everything, when when the person melts, it's just like, fuck yes, I'm in. Yeah, I mean, the story is whatever. It's a little loose. It's definitely got a lot of subplots that don't make sense, but in the end, it's worth it. So I give it a 4 out of 5 too.
I think I'd give this movie a 3 out of 5, just on overall quality. It's not a bad movie by any means. Now that I think more about it, well, my immediate reaction was, what did I just watch? This is the Room of horror movies.
It's pretty close.
Man.
I mean, the acting's better, that's for sure. But
oh yeah, well, that was my first like gut reaction. I was just like, this is the worst thing I've ever watched. But no, when I ruminated on it, like, I laughed a lot during that movie. So it's not fair to say it's bad by any means. But it seemed that there was a lot of things that it's a very flawed movie in the sense that the story, like, I didn't even like halfway through the story, I was just like, oh, the story started. Oh, that's the main story. What? That's the main story? Okay. And I just kind of went along with it, and I gave up on trying to learn the characters' names. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to see him again. I don't know if they're going to die instantly. It's like, I don't know who to care about, right? So I just picked Hobo Jesus. But I think the special effects were good. The comedy was really good. It's just the story was just kind of god-awful in the sense of how it was handled.
I kind of feel like, too, like, the way the story is pretty convoluted and all over the place. If you look at how Fred kind of goes in and out of each one of these, it feels like you're Fred, because like he is never in one storyline long enough to where it makes sense. It's just kind of like, oh, here's Fred, here's this new storyline, okay, back to this one, and then here's Fred just kind of bumbling his way through it. And the end goal, as far as I'm concerned, the story is about a hobo who has $3 and he really wants to get drunk. That's the way I look at it.
All right, let's get into the over unsettling rating. Again, this is just how unsettled you were overall. I gave it just a 3 out of 5 again, with the rape scenes and the misogyny and all that jazz, and even the body melt sequences or explosion sequences were pretty fucked up for myself. Again, I guess I've become more sensitive when it comes to watching genre films, so I gave it a 3 out of 5. I don't know if you want to do an unsettling.
I don't know about overall, but I think definitely the rape scenes were pretty, even knowing too that poor woman had to like go through like PTSD just to shoot that scene. That sucks, man. Nobody should have to like deal with that shit for a movie like this, but she did and still went through with it, which was good.
Commendable.
So that's pretty unsettling for me, but the rest of the movie is like, I don't know, I guess because it's so cheesy, I'm just kind of like laughing it off. So it wasn't really overall unsettling for me. But I think just that one scene, I'd probably stand out over everything else. I don't know exactly how to split the two. If I had to do overall, I'd say like a 2, maybe. But if it was that one scene, probably like a 3 or 4.
For sure.
I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, yeah, the rape scene and the misogyny, just like you said. But also just like, it could have been so much more. This could have been a 5 in the sense that if the story was more streamlined and more pronounced to a point where, like, there's an indirect cues to the audience saying like, this is the main one. All right.
Mm-hmm.
this is the one you need to focus on. The rest you can laugh at, right? So if things weren't so like convoluted, not confusing, convoluted, I think I think it would be even more unsettling because you would probably draw more connections to, Wendy and Kevin and Fred and the actual protagonists of the film.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I mean, this unsettling rate, it doesn't mean that it makes it a better horror film or anything. It's just kind of to gauge one's own sensitivity, just because I feel like now a lot of people are extremely desensitized. I know I was like especially like last year, I was just like watching like films like The Witch and stuff like that for the first time. Like it's an extremely fucked up movie, that is, and I was just like, it's not that. It's nothing like torture porn, but it's like at the end of the day, at the story, like with what happens with that whole family, it's like it's fucked up, dude. But yeah, in this case, this is fucking cheesy and corny, and it's intentionally funny. But anyways, that's the whole thing, just to kind of gauge one's own sensitivity. So that was that. All right, cool. I mean, we kind of went through unsettling sequences. Let's get some memorable kills. I mean, yeah, what was the most memorable kill, or for each of you?
I think the first one for me, for sure, because I wasn't expecting it. And then when he drank that stuff and just started melting all over the place, the toilet is just like, that's what's on the cover too. It's probably the more memorable kill. And then obviously the final kill, those two stand out way above.
I liked it when Wynette died a lot. I think, truly the most memorable kill is the first one. But if I had to choose a second, it's when Wynette dies. And the reason why is not the kill itself. It's what she says before she melts. You never share the booze with me.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Yeah, that first one was insanely memorable. All right. Let's get into if you could kind of put this in a double feature with something else. Again, for me, I watched Slime City and I was like, this is probably the closest thing I could put, like if I had to do a double feature, since they're both 80s New York body melt comedies. But again, I didn't see Chud, or I didn't see what's the other one, The Stuff. So I don't know what if you could do a double feature with this and something else. Do you have any possible?
Yeah, I would play this with an Australian movie, and the name is blanking on me right now, so I'm actually looking it up.
Is it Body Melt or no?
I think that might be it.
Is it with like that pharmaceutical company?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Body Melt.
Yeah,
dude,
Body Melt.
Insane.
Yeah, I would put Body Melt with this movie, just because the styles are very similar in terms of like what happens. But I think Body Melt's like way more fucked up in terms of like the story and some of the kills, and it's from a different country, so like their sensibilities of stuff are a lot different. But I think those two would go together well.
Yeah, and it's sort of convoluted, but not really. There's like that subplot with those redneck, or the guy that used to be a scientist. For that company.
Yeah, that was kind of convoluted. And like, what's going on here? Why is this guy way out in the fucking boonies? And
yeah, those two gangster white kids.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Isaac? I know you're not the biggest film buff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you think you could?
This is the part where I feel uncultured. All right.
That's cool, dude. You can leave it blank.
I don't really.
Or
know
do you
what
got a
to compare
book?
it
Do you
to.
know?
Well,
I mean,
even book wise, I've never read anything that would even be remotely like this, except for like Goosebumps when I was a kid, like the monster that ate everything. Like just because like there's slime in it and stuff. I don't really know.
All right, that's cool. All right, that's good. All right, and interesting trivia here. Bryan Singer was in this. The piece of shit, I guess, or possibly piece of shit person now who directed like X-Men and stuff, was an assistant in this film. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Oh, what did he do? Is it the
child rapist?
Yeah,
Oh.
Is it for sure now? I didn't know if
You
it was
know,
still
man,
possible.
honestly, it's been multiple accusations at this point, and it's just like, either he's paying off enough people. This is just my opinion, by the way. Either he's paying off enough people to where it's going away, or nobody's really like said something to the right person. I don't know, but it's been at least 3 or 4 accusations over the past few years, and yeah, I don't know. It's gross. Fuck that guy.
Force feed him some Viper.
Yeah,
Right.
you should.
All right, cool. Just closing thoughts on this, or do you want to just get into the general discussion? I mean,
If you've never seen it, watch it at least once.
Yeah, watch it. Even if you'll hate it, it's like it's like The Room in the sense that it's a unique experience.
Yeah, if you got a group of friends and like you guys got nothing to do, it's perfect for like a group setting too.
Get blitzed. Watch this movie. Not saying I did that.
all right, yeah, general discussion. I mean, yeah, what other films you've either of you've seen?
I saw Day of the Dead last night.
Which one?
Day of the Dead by Romero,
nice.
the 1985. It's really, really good. Captain Rhodes is like an amazing antagonist. Frankenstein had to be my favorite character. We should totally like cover that movie at some point if you guys would want to. I think that film is excellent.
Yeah, I'm down.
Also, Annihilation. I saw that in theaters actually with friends. Deeply impactful in every I can't wait until we can. I want to watch it again before we talk about it. But
yeah, we're waiting for it to drop on Netflix, right?
I'm pumped to see this movie again because it left me with more questions than it did answers, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay.
It's a wonderful movie. Watch it if you have.
Cool.
I haven't watched anything because I've been moving across the country, so. I think I've just been watching like Curb Your Enthusiasm because it's like little short episodes that I can get in between like moving and unpacking stuff. So I haven't watched any movies.
All right, nice. I mean, right after I watched Street Trash, I was trying to get like, dude, what could be this insane? So I mentioned I was a teenage zombie, Body Melt, which you mentioned.
Yep.
I went to go see Dazed and Confused with Richard Linklater in attendance. That was fucking awesome.
Oh, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, dude, that was a fucking amazing experience. Shout out to the Austin Film Society. I saw Death Wish, Eli Roth's new film, which a lot of people were shitting on. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to that stuff. And
yeah, man, I haven't seen it, but I think it's one of those things that people are too nostalgic about the original, and the original it's okay, but it's not like it doesn't stand up the test of time like for being in the 70s. I think it needed an update, which they did kind of do with this movie called Death Sentence that had Kevin Bacon in it.
James Wan, right?
Yeah, that's right. James Wan did that movie, and it's basically Death Wish as well. And I think it's fine, man. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but I like Eli Roth. I don't think it'll be that bad. I mean, it's a vigilante movie. What do you expect?
Yeah, that's the weird thing, because that's the thing that people are shitting on, because it is a Caucasian vigilante taking justice in his own hands, which I totally understand. But like in the film, it's not like pointing out like this is the best thing to do. It's definitely complex, and there's definitely aspects in the film where show like this is actually not a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what's also weird too is like we're in a culture where like Batman is like, like
idolized.
Idolized, and that's like a vigilante, a Caucasian vigilante, and it's like the fuck, like it's like these hypocrites. I don't know. For me, it's just some. Again, it's not a perfect film, but it was. I don't know. I kind of look past that shallow ignorance, but I saw that. Saw Slime City, Class of Nukem High, finally.
Oh, yeah.
My first Troma film, sadly. I need to see Tromeo and Juliet, which is a James Gunn, I think, written production.
Yep, you should absolutely watch that movie. Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah, so, and then Dread Central Presents, they put out what's called Dark Woods 2, or something Asylum. That's actually pretty sweet. So I'm looking forward to all the Dread Central present films now, because it was actually a pretty fucked up film. But
Oh, I lied. I did watch a movie. I watched. I think it was called like The Game or something on Shudder.
okay.
You're a liar.
It was honestly, it was so unmemorable. That's why I forgot. Yeah, I forgot I watched it because it was just like, all
You're
right,
dead
well,
to me.
it was. I mean, it was okay, but it was like this group of people go to a cabin for a weekend, and they all play this game where they turn out the lights, and then they have to slip somebody a piece of paper, and then they have to figure out who's the murderer. Excuse me. And Jesus. So one by one, every time they do that, somebody keeps dying. And they all think that it's playing a game until they realize, oh shit, these people are actually dead. And then that's when everybody freaks out for real. And then it just all comes down to like people distrusting each other, being like, no, you're the killer. No, you're the killer. And this is why I think you're the killer. And it's just really convoluted. And I knew who the killer was the whole fucking time. I knew from the moment, like the first fucking moment you meet this character, you know it's them. And then, turns out it was them. So it was predictable. It was forgettable. Yeah, I didn't really like it, to be honest.
All right, cool. Yeah, so thank you to both of you for being able to watch Street Trash and recommending it, and thank you, Isaac, for watching it too, because I'm assuming that wasn't your cup of tea.
It was funny. See, I'm getting better. I'm improving. You guys won't kick me out yet because I actually watched the film this time.
Well, you get to pick the film this time, right?
Oh, is it my turn?
Fuck you. Give me a bottle of booze. Here's my $1. Suck my dick.
Here's your booze. Suck your own dick, you schmuck.
Go fuck your dog, Ed.
Very pleasant, very witty, prick lips. You can go fuck my dog.